So this is what it's like. Careful not to knock it over or windows. Right? Oh, just forget about it.
So
just press the
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say that we are going to wait a few more minutes. We have two hypotheses. Either people are thinking it's 9 o'clock, or maybe some are lost in the tunnels, trying to find their way from the last year for the time to here. So sorry, but I think we have to wait.
Either get the report number, just
okay, first.
I thought maybe they about that.
I know, they don't, I was thinking.
And I'll be in thank you. Yeah, and the social from one school together, so I can
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Bonjour. So, we leave the floor to a great team. Who wants the mic?
I will start.
You will start? Okay.
Thanks for coming to this workshop or symposium about knowledge building analytics. First of all, I'm not sure how many of you have heard about learning analytics or aware of any work they're doing. So there's a growing community called Learning Analytics. Chris here has been involved since the beginning of this community, and I was also fortunate to start attending their Summer Institute from last year and their conference starting this year. They are working on a lot of interesting things, which includes, as presented here, measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data about learners and their context for purposes of understanding and optimizing their learning and the environment in which they occur. There's a lot of momentum in this community, and they have been doing wonderful work in the past years. And today we're going to talk about knowledge building analytics, and it's very different from learning analytics because knowledge building is different from learning, although we care about learning at the same time. So for this symposium, the major goal is to help us go further in knowledge building analytics. We will start by three presentations, very short and quick presentation, including conceptual framework, presented by Jen Wei, talk about knowledge building analytics. Then Chris will take over to talk about the design analytic tools, and then Yoshiaki and myself will just give you a little bit information about what might be possible for us to develop future analytic tools. Those are actually only teasers for this symposium, and then the major part will be small group work participated by everyone, and main goal is to think about what kind of tools we want and how can we design them better. So we can, after this conference, we can move forward to actually work on those tools. And after that, we can come back and do some synthesis and reflection, and that's the end of the symposium. So let's start with Jen Wei's presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, the biggest one. Hi everyone. This is a little bit rushy, but in the last few weeks, Fongyo, Bodong, and I have been communicating through email to try to put together some slides and some thought about what kind of conceptual structure, framework, or directions that we can apply to guide the use of analytics. to either assess or feedback on knowledge building.
High-tech stuff.
It's when always the experts that it goes.
I cannot play.
Yeah. Next slide.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So Badun already showed the basic kind of definition of the field about learning analytics. So we will just look at what we mean by KB analytics. Maybe basically something similar, so to have a scope of the the kind of analysis. And then the major part of it is to think about how we get to analyze knowledge building. Especially we use the framework of a multi-level emergent system. And then we're going to review some examples of analytics tools that we have developed by different teams based on this framework. As Badun said, the definition of learning analytics, we can use the same kind of statement. Like knowledge building analytics probably is the measurement of and collection and analysis and reported data about knowledge builders and their knowledge building process in context. So in this sense, there are a lot in common between the analytics about learning and the analytics about knowledge building. But there are important conceptual differences that have to be known. Learning is mainly an internal process, resulting in the change of beliefs, attitudes, skills, what's going on in the mind. Well, knowledge building is mostly about the process of the social interaction of creating and advancing public collective knowledge outside the mind. I think that there's an important differentiation here for the analysis in terms of what we want to measure and how it can be interpreted. In the field of learning analytics, one thing important, there are a lot of exciting advances made. If you have a vast amount of data to throw into a computer and you run different kind of algorithm, and in some way it's going to generate some kind of result. The major challenge in the field is that oftentimes garbage in, garbage out. So it's reading a lot, but you found some pattern, but that pattern doesn't mean anything. So to really address this challenge, I think it's important to build a conceptual framework to guide what kind of data we want to input. And then to output what kind of pattern, what really matters, and for what purpose and what meaning. So this is why we really spend some time to think about the conceptual side of this. Related to this is the field of assessment. I think the field of education assessment has been famous for assessing what's easier to assess. And recently, a team led by Dan Schwartz at Stanford, they published a new book called Marrying What Matters Most. They really think about the new ways of assessing in the age of digital world as well as the age of constructivist teaching. This is a quote from that book. For the assessment to assess what matters most. So what matters most is not what the student already know, but what they choose to know and what how they approach it. So they call for a shift from a knowledge-based assessment to choice-based assessment. So the new kind of learning environment, like knowledge building, really encourage high-level agency. Basically, we try to turn over more control or more choices to the side of the student, and that oftentimes what students choose to do and how they choose to approach it. The kind of choice they made is oftentimes a better predictor than what they actually understand, what they actually know. So they said at the end of the day, whether a student has good knowledge will be crucial only to the degree that knowledge leads to good choices. So why not measure choices directly in educational assessment? So I think the choices mean that what they choose to do and how they approach it, and how they participate in that whole process. So all those facets or aspects of the work is very important for us to think about, how they can analyze. So then come back to the nature of knowledge building. And when we say knowledge building is really the process, the practice to build collective knowledge. I think it's important to keep in mind that collective knowledge is not a single layer kind of entity. So once we, contribute idea in a pool, and that pool is our collective knowledge. So the process is much more complex than that. So the knowledge building process is more of a layered, complex system. It's like Maureen Carr said, it's the good idea, the best idea gradually kind of rise up across the different social and cognitive layers. If we keep this in mind, in this whole process, it's important to analyze the social emergence as well as the cognitive or epistemic emergence from micro to the macro level, from individual work to emerging groups to cross-community kind of structure emerging that process. And then on the other side is the micro idea contributions, and then to clusters of ideas or threads of ideas, and all the way to the big ideas of cross-cluster, cross-area that can have a broader impact on how people think about the different areas. So in this process, it's essential to think about the dimension, the emergence in terms of the temporal process of that emergence. It's not like a short moment, but a longer process. What's going on now is rooted in the past and also sees the direction of the future. So we have to have that kind of longer trajectory in order to really interpret what's going on now. And the other side of it is the micro and macro link. So you look at any level, any of the emergent level. In order to interpret the pattern at any of the level, you have to embed it in a level that's beyond it, as well as the level that's underneath it. So that's the kind of framework Jay Lemke has been arguing for. Like you have to embed each level in the context of higher and lower levels in order to understand what's going on in that level. So in this sense, I think the data analytics in terms of the first step is really how to organize and how to sort data. Instead of just everything sorted in, we need some kind of pre-organization and pre-sorting and pre-screening. So that we know what's the unit of analysis, what's the unit of the data that we're really entering into the system. Ranging from the individual idea contributed by a member, a build-on tree by several immediate collecting members, a cluster of idea or thread of idea by a group, all the way to a whole knowledge building initiative, or even of one community, or even across several communities. Think about the different layers so that we know that what kind of data unit we are really including in the system. And then on the output side is that what kind of pattern we are trying to observe. So as we said, we need to really look at the patterns, the output that matter the most. So what are we really kind of analyzing based on the social unit. So at each level of the unit, probably we can ask some kind of critical questions. The level of person idea so what's the focus of my choice? What do I choose to understand? What's I'm wondering about? And then how have I been contributing to that focus? So in this level, I think the kind of analysis we have been conducting by different teams, like ways of contribution, probably it's a good kind of a unit of pattern, or the preset of the pattern we are looking for. Problematizing, theorizing, elaborating, referencing, evidence use, synthesizing. So those are probably the idea level kind of a unit of pattern we are looking for. And then move beyond that, we can look at the subgroup or idea thread kind of a level. So what are the shared focus of choice we choose to focus on in this community by a subset of members? And then beyond that is the community or the spread cluster kind of a level. So what are the knowledge? How are we building knowledge as a community in the whole initiative? And beyond that is the network of communities. On the knowledge side, it's more like a field or a domain area, and how the network has been advancing idea in the connected way. So we don't have time to really go to the detail. But this is just to demonstrate, what's the critical question we want to investigate or want to better understand through the analysis at the different levels of the system. At each of the level of the system, there are multiple dimensions of analysis we can approach with the question of to understand what. If we think about knowledge building, it's always this kind of a big question in mind as a researcher. So we think about as each of the level of the unit, we think about, okay, what are the students trying to create or trying to understand? So we need to know what. With what kind of finding or progress. And then the how. So the ways of contributing, ways of interacting, how they approach that goal. And then who with who and when. So I think this is probably the kind of analysis, the space of analysis we can set up for the different kinds of data analytics. Some of the data analytics is focusing more on what, and some others more on the social, like the who social network. But to have a good understanding of each of the dimensions, we need a combination of the different dimensions to really have a good kind of understanding. So here are some kind of examples. I point out and Budong can jump in if you see some examples, you can better elaborate. At the level of the individual person idea, we have tools of contribution. The different kind of contribution, different kind of writing. And then we have new tools. We look at the word, like what kind of term, what kind of concept each member has contributed. Of course, this tool has an upper level that is social as well. If we apply this kind of framework we just talked about this level of analysis, I think it's important for the analysis to be embedded in high level, so that we know that contribution is a part of a larger structure. So contributing to what? To what line of work? About what content? And from whom and when? So I think oftentimes when we only look at the contribution rate, it's merged into one kind of a bar chart, but lost a lot of information about the related dimensions. And then at the upper level, the group level, look at how the member really connect. And then this is the social network. Of course, it's important to connect this social network analysis with other dimensions, like what's the content. When they come into this cluster in the communication, so what's the content of the communication connecting the different members? Not only about a build-up, but build-up about what? So really the content side of this kind of analysis is missing in the social network graph. And then the idea thread is really bring back the content side, like what's the conceptual goal, the conceptual focus in the conversation, and plus the temporal dimension of the work. And recently, I have been testing some automated analysis. Of course, Chris has done a lot of work, and Bruno also testing the semantic analysis. So this is to see how the semantic cluster coming together. Look at the cluster group mapping onto clusters of the topic, the content, and also plot them on a timeline so that we can really integrate different dimensions to understand. Okay, this is several months or several weeks. So what's the kind of unfolding process of conversation addressing the different kind of focuses. Then the whole community structure, the social network has the community level kind of matters. We're not going to look at the individual role or relation to other individuals, but we look at the network as a whole, from more centralized to more distributed. To have a measure of the network as a whole instead of only the individuals. The same thing for IDS Red Mapper is really map out the whole knowledge building initiative to understand the different lines of ideas and how they connect. This is community level analysis. The semantic space mapping is another way of looking into the content of the whole community. But of course, for this and the previous analysis, it's important to connect this kind of analysis to other dimensions, like who and when and how. So ways of contribution, ways of what that term really means in the contribution. Is that kind of asking a question about that term, or is that proposing a theory about that term? So if we want to look at one dimension, oftentimes this is a very thin kind of meaning there. The semantic link nominal. Similarly, you can plug in the temporal dimension and look at how this semantic link is a part of a larger structure like an idea thread and in a different area. Do you want to say something about this?
Basically, this is just to confuse you. This is based on what Yang was talking about, the topic modeling, just play with different variable into to put into the semantic space and to find meaningful patterns. I'll skip this.
So this is our analysis with Huang Yao and others. This is about the analysis of the KSN. It's a really large network involving how many people here? Hundreds of members.
75 members. Yeah.
Okay. And look at the weak type, the strong type, the key core group, and the more peripheral group, and how they really interact. So it's a kind of an inter-community, inter-network pattern. I think this is just a very quick kind of review of the different analysis. But when you think about the basic kind of message here is that collective knowledge building, especially collective knowledge, is not one single entity. It's multi-level, it's multi-dimensional. It's continually unfold and emerging in a temporal space. So any analysis need to approach all those different aspects in order to really develop a meaningful, useful analysis. And here, basically, we think about the analysis process is that we looking at the emerging process, the pattern emerge from data. And on the other hand, once the data emerge, we also need to think about what that pattern can be used to reorganize the input of the data. So if we detect a pattern of a social unit, and that small group can be used as a structure to structure the input of the data. So that the next phase of analysis will be using a pattern or a structure we have detected and structure of splitting the data as the input to the next level of analysis. So the first level analysis probably is a kind of broad search of the possible pattern, possible group that seems to be productive or less productive. And then the next phase of analysis will be really zooming to those patterns and selectively focus on the data related to that kind of structure. And then build input into the analysis. I think this is the hard part. A lot of the data analytics is only bottom up. Without knowing anything in the data. Just return the pattern. To make it really kind of productive, I think this is both related to the conceptual side as well as to the computational side. Without the machine learning, there needs to be a iterative kind of pattern built into the loop to build that model. Let's skip this. Should we leave the discussion to the end?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
So this is basically a kind of very rough path of laying out the different conceptual layer, different kind of dimensions for us to think about and approach and integrate in developing different kind of data analysis tools. Thank you.
So the idea is to leave the question maybe after all this presentation. So if you have any questions, just skip there and we will come back later. Next will be Chris.
Okay, so thank you all for emerging from the tunnels this morning. Hopefully you found your way here and didn't get wet. Thank you, Jeremy, for doing that fantastic overview. Makes my life a lot easier. I'm going to take a slightly different cut on this. This is what I was supposed to talk about. I'm going to talk about it in a very roundabout way. I'm going to talk about focusing on some problems with the design of analytics for knowledge building and what I think some of the bigger problems are. As I think Bogdan alluded to, I've been kind of hanging around the learning analytics crowd for the last couple of years, since 2011. And there's some points I want to bring to your attention. So a lot of times we talk about big data in education, and we get all excited about having millions of records and things like that. It's not really that big. It's bigger than most of us are used to in the field of education. And I'm talking here about digital traces. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So big data isn't that big. That's the first important point. The other point, there's a wonderful article in the British Journal of Educational Technology very recently by Peter Ryman, in which he closes by making a very, very clear distinction between rich data and big data. So we can't confuse those two. I think this next point is really, really critical, and I think what I would like to see the majority of this session spent on, and that is thinking carefully about the questions we're interested in asking. And think very carefully about the nature of the answers that we might get to those questions, and then come back to those questions and see if those answers actually answer any of the questions that we had. So I think often when we're done, we get all excited, we borrow tools from other fields, and we find that we haven't quite gotten to where we thought we were going to go. The other part is I think we have to be very, very, very careful about thinking who we're designing for. And I'm not even sure these categories are right. We often make a distinction between people like students, researchers, teachers, but maybe that's not the important axis. Maybe there are other ones. Maybe expert and non-expert data analysts is a better way to go. So we have to think carefully on those designs. They're really hard to do. And finally, think about the best toolkit for the job, and not the one you're most comfortable with. And what I want to try to do today, hopefully in this, you saw a lot of fantastic examples of where we've been in the past, in the last talk. I'm not going to give you too many examples of where we've been, because I'd like to think about where we're going in the future a little bit more. So the next theme I want to talk about is not really, as I reflect on where I got to in these next bits. So getting back to the original points, it's not really big data. We had megabytes at best, not terabytes or petabytes. A lot of the techniques that are coming out now are borrowed from business intelligence. These are people who want to sell you things. These are people like Amazon who have fantastic, hugely vast amounts of data. So we don't really need to worry about overly capable analytics engines. We can use pretty simple stuff to get a lot of mileage. When I say not really rich data, I'm not talking about the wonderful data that we have access to in terms of traces of what goes on in the classroom, especially taking into things like video and all that rich data. I'm talking about the electronic traces that we have available to us right now. And I think we have to be very, very careful about not over-interpreting from those limited electronic traces. What I'd like to do is imagine how we can get richer data into those electronic traces. I was very fortunate recently to be involved in a MOOC research initiative that was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we had huge amounts of data. So every time someone clicked on something, and keep in mind that MOOCs are for the most part talking head videos that people pause and play back. We knew every time someone clicked on something, we knew when they took the quiz, we knew how they did on the quiz, we knew when they clicked, and they clicked a lot. But in the end, we had no idea why they were clicking. We analyzed 120,000 people and had no idea why they were doing things. We came up with models, it didn't prevent us from coming up with models of why we thought they were clicking on things, but we certainly didn't really know. So I'd like to think a little bit more carefully about how systems, and in particular knowledge forum, can be designed to ensure that we actually include those richer data streams in electronic traces. Getting back to learning analytics for a minute, learning analytics is a funny field. It's almost like when there are parallel sessions, you can often divide the rooms very clearly into the two types of people: the people who wear suits and the people who wear Gore-Tex. The suits are interested in things like, and this is very much a North American problem. They're very much concerned about how many bums remain in seats. So they're interested in things like attrition rate. They're interested in student retention. It's largely driven by economics. I don't think, and I've asked around, I don't think anyone here is particularly concerned with that. But these are predictive models about when a student's going to walk out the door. I don't think that's really what we're interested in. It might be, though. I'd certainly encourage you to think about how we can borrow some of those techniques about predictive models. One of the things that I think we've been reading about for years is this ability to to get away from test taking, the traditional test taking. That is, can we, and I think we can actually do this. So if we actually take a look at what people are contributing to things like knowledge form, if we look at their electronic traces, we can probably predict how they're going to do on a traditional test. So, you know, as I'm busy rejecting all these things, I want to be clear that we can borrow techniques, but make sure that we apply them to what we're interested in looking at. You know, the other part about learning analytics, and this is some wonderful data from the PSLC data store is a great example of this. Has to do with competency-based assessment of individual students. And this comes from sort of the intelligent tutoring system paradigm. So the learning analytics crowd, I think, is very much concerned with things like individualized instruction. Again, I don't think we're particularly interested in individualizing instruction in terms of teaching people certain things via modules. But it might be interesting to think about how we can apply those same techniques to things like the detection of misconceptions and what that might look like. So again, we're not really designing for all users. Designing for multiple users, and I do a fair bit of design work for a number of different universities around the world, it's exponentially more difficult to design for multiple users than just for a single user. It's not impossible though. So as we get you to work in these small groups, one of the things that you might want to focus on is getting beyond the single user group. And consider the different needs of students, teachers, administrators, and research, and think, are they really all that different? And do they have to be different? Again, historically, I think one of the interesting things about sort of the knowledge building approach is that we've suggested that we don't need to have different interfaces necessarily, or different data presented to different users. And again, I hinted at that last point about thinking of cross-cutting dimensions, like expert data analysis versus not a expert data analyst versus novice data analyst. So when we show you pictures, you see a lot of pictures like network diagrams, you see graphs, you see interaction diagrams, and it turns out that if you go to a room of people and ask them, well, do you understand what this graph means? The answer is often, well, not really. So you're relying on the designer, the programmer, or the analyst to actually tell you what it means, and you're no way double checking that sort of thing. This is my sort of tagline here. Be careful about technology. Technology has a lot of biases in it. As you move to different technologies, you're actually taking a layer and putting someone's expertise between you and your data. So as you look at data analysis toolkits, you get into this funny relationship where it's not you and the data, it's you and the designer of the analytic tool, and then the data. So there's a level of removal there. And quite often, when I work with different technology teams, there are preferred ways of doing things. This is just the way I know how to do it out here, and I can go faster this way. So I often encourage people to think along the line that I don't know how to do that yet, rather than that's really hard, or I can't do that, or we can't do that. We're sort of in a really fun technology point right now, where we have a lot of computing power available to us. We have a good amount of data, so it's sort of an exciting time to be there. I want to present some very vague notions of solutions, because I don't want to tell you exactly what I'm thinking. But I think Janway's presentation just now on theoretically driven designs, there's a very dangerous movement out there in learning analytics. There's sort of this post-theoretical movement. We don't need theory anymore. We just need data. Data tells us everything. And this isn't adopted by everyone, and certainly I'd say champions like Simon Buckingham Shum, certainly, and Simon Knight, and I put both on in that category too, certainly do not reject theory and continue to articulate the importance of theory. But there's another level that I'd like to think about too, and that is how can we articulate theories from different fields? So not just knowledge building theory, but there's also theories of use from things like human-computer interaction and who knows what else that we can try to put together and try to inform these designs. The designs don't have to come solely from one field. And again, that gets hard, but that's, I think, the exciting part. We talk a lot about the 12 principles of knowledge building. And quite often it's nice to sort of segregate them out, but they function as a whole. It's a system. So it's an integrative model. It's not divisive. And one of the things that occurred to me as I reviewed all the analytics that have come up over the years for knowledge building and knowledge form is that maybe we should consider taking a slightly different approach. So instead of having a one sort of analysis, we call them applets in the past or applications, but maybe we consider combining them. And I think, Janway, your presentation just now, you hinted at that with the multidimensional aspects as well. And I think the part that makes that really work is this sort of interactive rather than static displays. And it's hard to give you ideas about how that works when we just show you static images. But again, as we break out into small groups, we can certainly sort of start to share ideas about how things might change. There are ways to do these multidimensional dashboards now that don't force you to flip over into this other world. So I think, again, it's sort of an exciting time. I'm going to leave it at that and hand it over to the next presenters who are going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of how this all works. Thank you.
This quick presentation, we would like to show you the current status of the how we think about to develop the knowledge new analytic for the new knowledge forum in Agile way. So the overall message of this presentation is that what is the best architecture technology selection to build a new, usable, and flexible analysis? The new is very important for the researchers. Novelty is very important, and usable is very important for the teachers to use the analytic tool. And also flexible is important, and I think about it. It is very important stuff. The flexible means that my dream is to promote the teachers that to do some change the analytic to themselves. This is my dream. So so how can I create the kind of the environment for the future knowledge tools of the knowledge forum is our inquiry, and then and also the Agile way. One of the aspects of the Agile is means very fast. The delivery for users is also very important stuff. So maybe flexible and usable and very to deliver to users in the correct timing is also maybe the conflict, the concept. So the flexible and usable, so to create the usable software, this takes maybe a long time. So the users, many teachers, normal users, always requires to have all the functionality, but it's difficult to make the in the certain delivery time. So that is inquiry. How to manage that is important inquiry. So one of the solution is it's a normal solution in these days. On the technical stuff, it's a very ordinary solution to use the API. But there's some kind of problem is that design problem. So we could get a very good design API. We can connect the software from the knowledge forum, and we have nowadays there are a lot of so many good libraries and the third-party software. So the important thing we are thinking about how to connect this between softwares. So the API is the abbreviation of the application programming interface, and so the API means the interface for software to interact with each other. So I made the few figures for them to explain the API, how the new API works in for the normal people. The technical people is a very ordinary figure. So the basic architecture of the new knowledge 405 architecture is that the red triangle shows that the software component, the bottom layer is the KF5 server core, the software interacts with the database. And then there are two components of the server core software. One is the right side, the KF service interface. It's interacting with the KF5 GWT. The user can see through the browser. It works with you can see it in the browser. And the left side of the component is called the KF5 API. It's for the basically it's for the interact with the software. And then you can see the result of the Navic through the third-party software. So that is the basic architecture. So and then the part of the left side is scaled up to this figure. So we in this presentation we gives you the several ways how to use the KF5 API. One is my presentation of KBDX. It's my software. So KBDX can connect with directly the KF5 API. And then there are several ways to visualize the data through the KFR. The one, the R is the software. It's a free software. It's I think it's the most popular software, the statistics. Then there are so many libraries that you can use. So many teachers can use the R libraries. And then if you search the Google, the thing that you want to like to do, so you can find easily the command. It's a few lines, I think. So then if you import data from your KF5 database, so you can use a lot of libraries to visualize, and also you can make some statistic calculation easily. And yeah, the compile. Oh, let's change the compile. You can use a library of to visualize and make the charts in R, and also you can use some manipulation of the data and to change the format to the visualized in third-party software. I can show you the demonstration of two major software to conduct the social network analysis, and also the new recent 2 years there's a new software coming to show the result of the statistic to the web. So you can the way to use R statistics software directly is a little bit not it's difficult stuff for the normal users. Maybe the normal teachers likes to use web interface. So Shining allows us to do this. to provide such kind of the user-friendly software easily. So we have two demonstrations. One is the sharing application, and the one is the map. Okay.
First of all, those demonstrations are really for demonstration purpose. If we evaluate them by the standard way and please put out, it will just fail miserably. So just take this as possibilities, but they are really based on older ways of doing knowledge building analytic tools. And just as Yoshiaki mentioned, I was playing with different kind of frameworks and different ideas to develop knowledge building analytic tool. And Shiny, which is based on our software, is one of the possibilities I'm thinking about. And using Shiny, this is Shiny application I put up, and you can use this to log into a database and then choose a community. So I'm just going to use the knowledge building summit to database to show what's possible in here. So after you log in and choose a community, you can go to, there's some components that put into this application. One part is myself, and after you retrieve all this data from the database, you can get a summary and how many posts you did. This is just basic contribution tools, which can be easily done in Shiny, and you can integrate some interactivity because this is based on JavaScript libraries. And also, when did I post? So a timeline. Sorry that this is not scaled very well. Okay, the figure. The timeline of your post. What did you post? So you can see growth of vocabulary. You can see your terms. So and also the timeline of your post in a better way. And also group level. There are some tools I just played, like Scaffold Tracker, which was also in the older node form, so this can be easily done. And writing tool, this is, let me try to refresh. That thing. For the writing, you can see everybody's growth of vocabulary, and Mrs. Suzanne is doing a lot of posting. If we remove her, we can see other people's posting. So just because you're so hardworking. So this actually, because it's based on newer technologies, I think it's much better than older technology we had 10 years ago. So this is just to show you some possibility of integrating with other third-party software. Then, and also, Yoshiaki will talk about this later, like how much time it will take to develop this kind of tool. And just to highlight some possibility we can think about in terms of moving forward. So.
Yeah, so we try to figure out to evaluate the agility of this application. So I asked Boden to how long did it take to make this application 1 hour for components total? Or how much is the amount?
1 hour for the application.
Totally, your demonstration, the whole demonstration, it takes 1 day or 2 days. I think it's enough to view. It's very, very small size, and also the lines of the code is one of the way to evaluate how this cohesion. The lines of code, the small amount of line code is basically good software. So the 100 lines of our code, and also the Shiny, there are a lot of parts to provide the user interface, including the 700 lines of code. The essential code is almost 100. I think it's to 200. So I think it's a very not too small amount. I can provide the second demonstration. So I made three social network analytic software in 4 ways or 3 ways. Okay. So there are so many choice to, if you like to use social network analysis on your data, there are several tools. So then there are several tools provide similar function, but they are a little bit different functionality. So I try to figure out how you should choose the software. So I think it's 3 promising software, and then the one axis to choose is strong for the static network analysis or temporal network analysis is one axis. The vertical axis shows that if you like to human network analysis, or it's basically called the social network analysis. But we are really interested about the also content network level, how the nodes connected and word level, semantic level network we like to see. The one choice is the GEPI. GEPI is in 5 years very many researchers use the GEPI software to conduct the social network analysis. It's very strong for the static network analysis. You can see that you can move. Yeah, they provide several functionality to see the detail of the network. And the Condor 3 is the software which was invented by the Peter Gruber in MIT, Collective Knowledge Research Institute. So Condor 3 is the most strongest competitor of my software KBSI. So they have been conducted over 10 years of the temporal network analysis. Then the KBSI is my software. I created with Jun Moshima. It's designed for specially designed knowledge building discourse analysis. And but the KBSI supports any kind of the discourse data like the chat. If you have a chat data of the CSV format, you can use it on, you can analyze it on KBSI. So and then the first choice, and also one more possible choice. Okay, is our charts. I directly use our library. So this is an easy way to create this social network in R. So just you can put the 2 commands, and then I can show you 3 demonstrations. This is the KBSI. So you can push this 3 times the button. You can select the community and select the view, and you can see that. And also you can, if you select the node display, and then you can see the animation how the network created over time, and also you can see the social human network and the node network and the world network parallelly. This is KBSI software. This is the Condor 3. The same data has been imported to the Condor 3, so you can use a similar visualization. citation in this software. You can click to identify which is this is basically created of the like that human network, and also we can see in the same structure in KFE. So finally, I can explain how long does it take to create this software. The connect out of KBDX is just one day. It increases hundreds lines of connection code of Java, so 300 lines of GUI code, and also the KFRSNA it includes 70 lines of our code, and also the SNA extension to GAMI to accomplish the connecting software. That's I'm doing the changing the format to the 70 lines of code. So I think it's very small. And then we can connect the software, and you can choose the software as you like to. So that is our demonstration. So.
So that's all the presentation, and then we're going to small groups work. So party really begins here.
Party begins.
Yeah. So maybe we'll keep the questions to the end of the session. We're really running out of time right now. And for the party, I would like you to organize in small groups, whatever number you want to be working, and try to think about the dream analytic tool you want for your classroom, for yourself, for your students, for other stakeholders, and try to think about those questions, like what question you want to answer, who are you designing for, and what's evidence, how would you access the tool, and what kind of data do you require, and let's try to link this design to what Jianwei and what Chris has presented. And also keep in mind that we really, right now, we can do this really quickly without, and we have the power to deploy it differently to meet different needs. So just go crazy and try to think about the dream software you need.
Just a little, we're going to leave this up on the screen. I think maybe 2 or 3 groups, and like Lodan said, we're going to let you self-organize. But if we can at least get through some of these questions, I'd like to see a mix of people in the groups, and ideally, the tech people who know something about the API could break that too, because that last question is really that feedback cycle that we're interested in. This sort of interface is evolving, and I want to make sure that the team has a good idea of what needs to be changed to be able to move forward with some of these more advanced designs. So, any questions about the logistics over the next? You have times of going till quarter after. Yeah. Okay. Let's say you have 10 minutes. 15. Well, let's say 12 minutes, and then we'll play it together, because I think it's that sharing that's going to be really kind of fun. Thanks. Okay. Right.
No, he needs potties. I'm trying to answer very simply. Did the students learn?
Yes, a lot.
Did anyone find out? Not even see relationship that was one of the issues with central network. The point of decentralizing stuff so that each producing part hosts their own data on their own servers. But as soon as the anonymization process is validated by the user, data becomes openly available and then to access the non-anonymous data from the researchers platform, from the kind of collaboration between there could be like a data access negotiation process which would be embedded in the API itself to allow for non-anonymous data to be shared in a secure way. So it's probably maybe encrypted or stuff like that. So like just to be secure, you know, call it that. Do you remember the and think tanks, talk about that. So basically, it would mean having embedded in API negotiation for data access, which would be compatible with the open data license. So like researchers could replicate the data from their own servers for research purposes, and depending on their access level, there would be like varying levels of anonymity. And if a researcher stumbles upon a non-anonymous piece of data, you can fix it for everyone else. So real and share that.
Teacher, but
so when you sorry? Because I did have problem. So an example would be, say, a classroom that talks about life, and you validate the anonymous process. So when you anonymize the name of the student, the system will know that this used to be a name of student, or this used to be name of institution. So we have to just not a black bar like it, we need to have metadata associated with that black bar that is the name of the face of the children. So when a researcher wants to can use publicly anonymous data, but if you want to use more metadata and make a request to that part, the system knows for this party you receive a notification saying we want to access this kind of metadata. You allow that? If so, yes, and then the request message and then that will be that piece of data in the data structure. So it would be kind of the negotiation process would be like iterative. So anytime a party wants to revise their share, it will automatically notify the other party. So we can take into account the local copies that researchers would make, like storing data on the system. But within the system boundaries, if we have enough researchers wouldn't go outside of what we have for our outreach. We have sensible yeah, this was basically about the layer of security we could add to meet the needs of ethical reads and privacy needs. So why not elaborate on that? So what is it?
Chris said something today.
You want to ask a question?
I want to know how the students learn at college.
That's
So yeah. So
I'm thinking as a teacher. I'd like to know, I would like to know where the discussion is going, and how much of target knowledge or target competencies were being more maybe in terms of concepts, like the semantic map of those concepts. I would like to know which students are falling behind. If I could tell, this group of students have had a great discussion about life, but these students, they're not getting it. They're using wrong concepts.
So let me see if I can show that space. So you have these competencies, and I guess students should learn. Next. Then you have if you're taking a magic rule, it says yes, my students, some of my students are all Untitled Chapter. And what would that look like?
Yeah.
I'm thinking two questions. So yeah. What's the other one? The other one is does everyone have to articulate their understanding of concepts that demonstrate?
It's something that I've been trying to do when we're using our databases is, as a teacher, read their notes and sort of code those notes with some other teachers. So I'd love to see a tool where I could directly knowledge forum do some coding to what the students are saying, so they could later aggregate or qualitative.
Layers of scaffolding. Layers of scaffolding or data that you could overlay.
I'm thinking more in terms of grabbing the students' notes and highlighting and saying this is about photons and this is about wave versus straight line.
And so maybe you would have like a crop that was this all.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know which highlight are good?
The way that not just bringing it up that we research your voice so that's what they're colors, right? We having to actually go through all the documents database. We have to like that. As a PC teacher,
this reminds me of but instructor candidates is all the same time. Actually, that's pretty good. And library. Where the instructor can actually grade, like they don't need to reach 0 and 3. I think I think once you get in the student hosting, you say, yeah, this is the 0 where it's not visible, then you can say, okay, what's not, what's the question? The other question is if this will and you have a teacher coding and then one hope by is that visible where
Oh, sure. I think I'd rather give them feedback based on what I got there. Something like the old application or personalized note. Hey, I see you've been working on this idea of lighting weight. Why don't you take a look at Schrodinger's cat?
or maybe let the teacher decide if it's wrong or not. So when the teacher annotates, he can decide if this is visible or not to the various roles. And I think cross-curricular issues are at stake here. Like if one teacher A decides to call it photon and the other one calls it light, from a lateral standpoint, we need to have some sort of standard about the curriculum. So maybe map out basic concepts that people across countries could, let's say, if we agree on this is that, and have them maybe specialize in local curriculums, to have it like embedded as a module for that community. And I think modularity is a big key here, so that these layers of scaffolding would be module or apps we can install and use as three sets of codes that you can use to overlay on the notes. And the same with assessment so we could have like modules for assessing student participation or maybe cognitive level or social level, and maybe an assessment for modules for visualization also. So having modularity will allow users to lead really personalized interface and a really flexible kind of way of.
Do you have any evidence that users are actually do that? Because you can often log modules in a row, right? You just want to put together one tool. I mean, I guess it's my experience with users, they just don't have the initiative to do that. They have initiative, they just don't have time.
These are
Okay, so it's just want something that
we have some stuff just
it's almost like sort of have one button the same way. Versus look at
Yeah, we didn't have that, we didn't have time, but I'm going to be done this right.
What evidence?
A lot of times the discussion, it's like when I say the definition, you build onto that, and so the other participants, they not have a chance to discuss their documents. So I think that having a meta discussion either as an assessment thing or as a portfolio or even embedded as an extra sample regular. But they need to negotiate that. They need to. Here's an where somehow integrating it more knowledge working with certain phrases they want the importance of conversation.
Basically, it's simply different lenses. It's simply different lenses to look at the data. So you could have like two sets of lenses that this is the view that teachers like because they can see like individual students by group and have the time-coded notes with it. So I don't know any of you know about GetLiner or Google Public Data. These kinds of interfaces, they have like the time slider and they have Y and X axis, we could have Z, and they have the sets of variables you can map on these axes. Like let's say I have a population growth and or child mortality and education and young workers, and you can see the bubbles by country and down. So you can control every axis you want. So this gives the flexibility of assigning any variable you like to an axis or another. So this allows for to share their ways of visualizing data, either between teachers or between teachers and researchers, and people can, the power users may develop new kinds of variables, new kinds of ways of looking at stuff. So by having a strong, flexible view, either Cartesian or graphic way, or you can probably do something really, really flexible and powerful.
I wanted
to return to this question. So, what do you do? Like, one of the things that I've seen is students, especially top achievers, who articulate the definition of and there's no point in everyone that's saying the same thing. So once the definition is there, it's there. But quite often the definition of the articulation of that definition does not any level of understanding. So it's just like so how do you push on that? How do you say?
That's when you apply the knowledge, but like through my own learning experiences, I feel that this much they can't how they're change. I would just make one other comment. So I know that the I think that my portfolio actually, information that, some of these questions in regards
how much they learn, whether it's going to learn about this. I think this is related to that. The evidence learning that sometimes semantic, evidence that this is about that. So because you know that it's in the posted definition about the topic, you know that the somehow covered. But at what level it's not clear. It's like only, like you said, only a topic text. That's a very superficial level. I think to get to the same level of understanding of that topic, you need to have proper other dimension analysis of the culture. If you have a deep understanding of it, you have to have a continual interactive conversation instead of only one post. So it's the social part. So whether that definition, even it can be created at some point in the conversation. That definition has to be a part of a longer chain of conversation. So the social is economic. Without any economic, how many people are responding? But that's a social part. When you get more social interaction, there is analysis of the the other the approach to that content, something related to this is the definition, but they don't know he's going to ask a question. And he's saying, use the stuff of language understand. And it's not that same much. Any question remark and know that you know. Because this has to be something that beyond that simple level. So this is a good example where you can at least 2 or 3 dimensions in saying one unless it's not partly correct. It's an overlap in the semantic of that mean. Now we determine how much
we have 2 more minutes and then we'll wrap up.
There's kind of really being bothered with the that's come across and the right. Or the ways that like this means like I think would you like to use that step?
What concern I have after all these years of working at design relates very much with the third question. We're spending time is time, differentiating, learning, knowledge building. But I'm not sure we have a clear picture of the evidence of what constitutes an act of knowledge building. Coming back at your work case, what you did many years ago when you told, okay, maybe we should stop English to look to knowledge for maybe we should put emphasis in face-to-face. And I'm wondering if we should forget what's going on in knowledge for us. And maybe we should ask ourselves, in the community of researchers, how can we identify that particular community is growing? Maybe to the help of identify later in knowledge for us what our current action is something.
So our system, 55% of the building, the frontage of the building, wasn't there. So there's no one that had a real somebody that
One of the limitations of the only way you can interact with the new people is through collaboration. You don't have social life and everything you know, making just on the make a mistake and correct this would be another way of interacting. You don't have the like or dislike button. There should be modules for interaction between
What about the second question? You are designing code, not only for this, I think also for student work. Because my class is if they are more and more aware of this, it's not what they are doing. Like that's a react of visual results. Here we have some connected to all, no? And then they are not about the stuff that they are doing. I am not integrated, I am not interested, I am not interested. They have answers that they are saying or doing right. It's not bad, there is something, there is a positive opportunity for all of the we need more information than because teacher can include all the answers all the time. But machines are there
Susan says that this is a summary of summary of beyond the textual chapter has no notes couple of stronger and the other things you make it next week.
I have a request. You're welcome to carry on these conversations. I don't think we can report out because I don't think we can keep these. But here's what I want. I know that Sandy did a great job of creating a note, summarizing what's been going on in their group in the view that Baudon just created. I know that we have at least one really great particular in our group, so I would ask to.
I can add it.
Contribute a note. I would ask right now for someone to volunteer from that group Christian will put a note in the database. We'll keep these conversations going, and I think we'll I think we just need to take a little break. You're welcome to keep the conversations going, but I think instead of doing a pass the mic thing.
So there's a view that, as Chris mentioned, in the database. So I don't want this to be the end of this conversation, but just the start of conversation. So during the conference, feel free to post anything you want to the view, then we can keep this conversation further and push it forward. Thank you for your participation.
La sous-section par section. Ça, c'est l'agenda. Oui, c'est ça. Ben là, en gros, section par section. Tu me le dis. Donnez aux gens de repérer.
Vous avez juste la caméra.
Ça marche plus, ça.
For our members meeting, everybody registered for this conference is a member, because your membership is included for a full year. So you're very welcome to your first members meeting.
more there.
Vous savez, votre sac à main, pas loin? Pour le panier de cake? J'ai noté ça.
Well, members meeting, we're about to start. And we need a quorum here.
It's going to be an entertaining meeting. You're going to need to sharing it. It's going to be entertaining.
Okay, so we are going to start. Quorum is number 3, so. So we have an agenda. You can read it. And I'm going to chair the meeting. And I would like somebody to propose the agenda. Wait. Yes? Who will second that? Yolanda? You seconding the agenda? Yeah, you are. Okay. Anybody want to vote on that? No. Right. Okay. Now we have to do the minutes. Okay. So we are going to put the minutes up on the screen, and the minutes can be approved by those who were there last year. So check if your name is there. If your name is there, you have a duty. You have to read part of it at least. And we are just going to go section by section. So just bring us the minutes. Okay, so you saw. This is what we did at the beginning, and Susanna took the minutes, and she's still doing it this year. So, what we did last year when we were regular. Okay, I think the main point was that the first president, being Martin Cardamaglia, voted on that, and we discussed on that. The discussion is on the following plate. That was a discussion when you were in the middle of it. And then we had a motion that the directors be authorized to spend money. We were authorized to do it. Did we do it? That's the question. Okay, so we had this discussion. Okay. Motion was approved. There was a motion to have the Sumo Institute here. We followed up. Okay. That the directors be authorized to decide the location. We did that. Report on activities. We adjourn. So, do you think these minutes are okay? Who was there who wants to propose the adoption? Sandy? Anybody wants to start up? Wayne? Okay. Who wants to vote on that? Done. Okay. We have minutes approved. Now, the quorum. We have to verify the quorum. It's about 50 plus 1 people being registered at the conference. If I look around the room,
they may not know that they are members.
Also,
I think that's.
but everybody who registered, everybody who registered is a member. So we know.
No, he's saying they don't.
They don't know.
And
Yeah, I said it once, and Susanna is bringing everybody in.
Yeah.
So the trick with that is you go back outside. If nobody asks for the program, we are okay. But you may feel you want to ask at one point, depending on the conversation. Okay, see, well, we are about 100 registered members, 50 people, we have 50 plus one here. We do. Okay, Susanna, we need rigor here. Wait this afternoon at the panel. There will be some rigor. Okay. Okay, so the report on finances, okay, I will continue. It's going to be very short, the report on finances. Last year, we had about $5,000 out of membership in 2013. This year, it's going to be about 10,000 more, so it's going to be 15,000. We spend a lot of money. The bank fees every month, that's all. Everything is still there. Okay? And of course, with the registration fee, there was a member's fee, but there is also money to hold this conference. So we have about 15,000. That's my report. Would you accept this report?
Yes.
You do? Thank you very much. Now the fun part. It's going to be the president's report. And she's still typing. What is your meeting for the association this year? Do this typing?
Great.
For the financial report? Okay, we need a motion for that, for the financial report. Who will do it?
I'll do the motion.
Okay, who will second it? Who wants a vote on that? Done, okay. You want to vote? Okay. Marty, your turn.
So indeed, we've been really quite active following up on issues from last year. And I think the biggest issue was, can Knowledge Building International itself handle all the work, all of our work? Do we really need a second not-for-profit entity to handle work that we're doing? And so that was a big issue, and we have explored just about every avenue, and in your think tank sessions, of course, the final one's happening after this, and so they will very much determine what the objects of the new association are, because we've really come through everything we've done to decide, yes, we do need a second association. And just to put it in the most straightforward terms, what we're really planning to do is work. Active work, running courses, creating sources of funding to put into the central pool, using the international community as the source of energy for that. So the level of volunteers, the kind of commitment, without that community, volunteering services so that we can produce courses, so that we can produce new kinds of assessments. We would simply never have the capacity to do that. But in legal terms, this is a working association. It brings in finances. If that were to be connected to the Knowledge Building International, and we would fail and get a debt, Knowledge Building International would be responsible for that. And membership associations and the board of this association can't handle that level of risk. But you can handle a new association that is so simple, so straightforward, that it can do exploratory work. We can see, can we succeed with this model, and nobody is encumbered with those responsibilities. If in fact it becomes successful, the idea is to have these as affiliated teams. So when we're talking next year, we'll be talking about what those successes are. We can write the objects of affiliation any way we want. We can evolve structures any way we want. What all of the advice says, it's an evolving design challenge. And what you should do is keep two separate entities that you can keep affiliated in any way you want, but don't bring any of the obligations of the one onto the other. So we feel we've answered that question, that there will be two entities, and that furthermore, we have been moving, as you know, in the think tank sessions, that we have made the decision to try to create this volunteer exchange that people will be recognized as will be recognized. I think the kind of work that we have fundamentally done is caring deeply about a model of education, putting our talents in to making those models come to life. That will be the form of recognition on your websites, will be people who are putting their time in to make these initiatives possible. We'll start with just a student journalist because we simply don't have the resources for more than that. But just starting to tell the stories in some form that can make clear to the broader world, here are the kinds of advances being made, here are the groups volunteering their time and effort to do that. So it's a very simple version of what Think Tank 4 is working on, but we will start that enterprise. Then any of the resources that we get will come into a central pool of funds, and that will be the work of the new association. We'll also be exploring joint ventures. We've already started doing that, but we can work with lots of groups. We can work with, well, actually, I hope Chris is okay with this, but I was just talking to Chris, where, he has some real ideas for how the analytic tools could be profiling what's happening at a school or international level, so that if you had a dashboard, that would also be really nice to be able to see that profile at those levels, so that what we would need to do is figure out how do we get the resources that will help Chris in this fundamental part so that he can make that contribution to the team. So that's kind of the decision, just to put all this in a nutshell. The decision is to create a new not-for-profit that will be linked to, affiliated with KBI, but handle things separately. We're going to be doing more work that brings financial resources to the central pool. We're going to do that on the power of the international team, through contributions that are recognized, and hopefully bring the work that we're doing more to a higher international profile. So that's the essential part there. I think there was only two other one issue that has come up that really needs discussion. The one thing has been about the nature of this conference. We also have to decide, and I'll turn this back to Therese, where we're going to have the conference next year. But you notice this is different from a normal conference, and that we do have some papers, but we're really a working group. It's this group where we tackle big issues like this. Year, we're obviously tackling issues for I think that it would be good to get your input about whether we should continue in this mode that is more of a working group we operate like a formal conference in the sense that we have papers, that we have workshops, but it's also a serious working group. So an issue has been, should we hold the conference in that mode and continue to hold it in that mode? And that's an issue for discussion. And I think the only other one, people are saying, why aren't we producing a journal? Like, why aren't the reports that are coming out and what people are doing, why aren't these in the journal? The simple answer to that is you need some real editorial support and needs, that we need strong articles out there in the world. And so the question is, we'd have to do that on the basis of volunteers right now, simply because we don't have the financial support. So two discussion issues, and I'll turn it back to you to follow up with those discussions. But that's essentially what we're doing this past year.
2 or 3?
The two are the journal and the nature of the conference and where the conference will be held.
Okay, we don't talk about BCCI because
Oh, we can't
It's
talk
something
about
that's unfolding.
KBSI, but it's
Okay.
certainly, I was assuming with the think tank sessions and that
We'll do it that
international
way.
panel.
Okay, feel comfortable about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the conference, our annual meeting. We are an association, so the idea is that, you know, when we became an association, there was already summer institute going on for a number of years. As a matter of fact, we created the association. Thought about it 2 years ago, we formalized it last year, so the summer institute had been going on for 16 years, and we kept with that, because it's a nice tradition, it's a nice ritual. I think it's fine that as an organization that we decide that it's our annual meeting. It's a working group, but it has some components of what the regular conference is, and this is what we will continue to do. So I would like just to open the discussion to go on this.
No, we're not just talking about location and date. We're talking about what kind of
Arrangement, you know, when we meet once a year, yeah. And then after that, we talk about the site.
I think maybe I wasn't clear about something, that puts this in context, and this was my mistake. One of the possibilities for next year is that the conference would be held in New Zealand. And
Okay,
there's,
it's up to discussion.
yes, up to discussion for sure. But what's interesting about this is that there's an international association of teaching and learning. So it brings a very strong international association of teaching and learning, plus Wing is there, and it brings a team that's in New Zealand. So it's very interesting in that it's another organization, one we normally wouldn't connect with, one with many, many delegates across the world. Now, if they were to take charge, that is, if they were to link it to their conference, we would probably be operating more in our regular conference mode. We would be a part of their conference, which would connect us with a really neat group of people. But we may want to say, but we still want our working group. Like, we need to do that as a subcomponent. Or you may say, hey, we actually couldn't come to New Zealand. This is a pretty expensive trip. And so it's really, if it happens, it's just going to be to make these new connections. Most of us would not be able to be there. But, you know, it's a serious issue about the nature of our conference and where we're going to locate it and how we're going to operate. So, you know, I'm just looking at you because at one time we had also talked about Singapore as a possible context of the, and there, you see, we have a much, that would be a summer institute more in its design form with us making decisions about how it goes. So it's an interesting issue, and both location and the extent to which these members here want to be on the program committee and keep it in its working form, or let other people organize it. So sorry, I wasn't clear enough about that.
I think I'm just thinking maybe we should have the online component to that. This year we have a little bit of that. I think we want to say that we need a bigger online component also. So let's talk about our annual meeting and what we want out of it. And maybe I would like Sandy, begin, because you have been at the Summer Institute much longer. I have been there for a number of years, but you were there before I was, and other people. So where are you on all of this?
Totally lost. I think that the timing is really important in terms of, for me personally, in terms of whether I could go. So if it was to be the August thing, it matters less where it is than the focus. I guess, and one of the things that has come to me and reinforced at this particular KBI is the importance of keeping involved through the year. So I'm throwing this out as a possibility. One way of keeping involved through the year is to have a task as a part of a working group that you get together to work on when you do move. So what I would be speaking for then is the concept of working groups coming out of the association that that are tasked with doing stuff and to prepare for to prepare for the think tanks, for the working group sessions. So I'll throw that out as my initial take on it. I certainly wouldn't want to lose the sense of hearing about the new partners in the organization, where they're going, their challenges, the questions they have, as well as the kinds of things we see in the demos, which are more like traditional papers or things you might find at a conference. But I would like to speak of the idea of keeping working groups going during the year and then having a working session where you're doing some synthesis.
Who wants to build on that?
I'll speak from the opposite end because it's our first visit to the conference. I like this format very much because it gives me a balance of interaction, absolutely new ideas and things I don't understand but I'm learning about, the opportunity to plan for the next year with the group itself, and also, most importantly, to interact with people from around the world in knowledge building because it's very much a learning time for me, but exciting. I couldn't even sleep last night. I had so many new ideas going through my brain. Hoping to sleep tonight, maybe I'll calm down a little. But so I think this format, which includes getting to know the geographical place that you are, getting together for meals, for receptions, but the learning in the sessions and the different kinds of sessions, the working group sessions, the feedback you're expecting from us as well. I mean, we have to be on our toes, and I think that's very much my learning style. So I would say this format for the actual institute works very well for a new learner.
I'll stay here, Blanca.
I just had a very pragmatic question, which I'm not sure if this is true for Seng-Chi. Whether academic institutions require people, if they're going to get paid to go to something like this, to have papers. So that might be an issue that we need to talk about. So where I am now, I can come here and be fully reimbursed for my travel because without having a paper. But for many academics, you have to present a paper, present something. So that's something that we need to consider in terms of when we talk about the content of a meeting.
Okay, done, and then, okay. Unless you.
If I could do a quick summary and maybe a way forward on this, I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing, one, that we want to be able to design the conference and have a wish list of items that we would put on it and do it our way. And the second thing I'm hearing is that depending on the venue, there may be constraints placed upon that that make that not entirely possible. So a way forward would simply be to create a wish list with the realization that not every item on it might be possible depending on the venue.
You just want to, okay, you can respond.
The venue issue, when Marlene was talking about the international conference, I have no association with that conference myself, okay? But it happens that there's an international conference in July, 13 to 15, where Marlene has been invited as a keynote speaker there. And initially, the idea was that because I've been organizing my own knowledge building symposium in New Zealand for 2 years, so I wanted Marlene and Carl to come to speak as keynote speakers. So the original idea was that why don't we actually combine together and then, well, they will speak at the conference, and afterwards I will hold a 2-day symposium in New Zealand, somewhere in New Zealand, most likely in South Island. Marlene will be speaking in the North Island, okay, but it's 1 hour's flight, so there's no problem for us. So then there's a piggyback on that, right? So as to save money for us, because our association has no money, right? So that was the initial idea. So I have no knowledge about like the international conference, how, in what way they're going to organize it, right? So if you are interested in coming to New Zealand, that's why I say it's up to discussion, because the problem is that New Zealand is very beautiful, right? So if you come and you can do sometimes thinking the college is so far away, and also the name of our conference has to be changed. It has to be changed to launch building winter because July and August is the deep winter of New Zealand. So if you like skiing, this sort of thing, you come. Because in the South Island it is quite cold. Like before I came snowing. In Auckland it's warmer, but it's about 12 degrees, something like that, 12, 13, something like that. Sometimes it's down to below 10. So it's not summer, definitely not summer. So those are the cons that you really have to think about. The option that we can forget about the international conference if you don't actually want to have any association with them. My university can hold a conference for knowledge building Winter Institute. It's not a problem for us. It could be in July, it could be in August, right? So in the same format as you like this, right? The only thing you need to consider is that whether you will come. Because if the Winter Institute has nobody that came, what's the point of holding it, really?
Let me tell you our experience with the International Learning Sciences Association in Hong Kong. So when we moved our conference to Hong Kong, we had to take their venue. In order to run the Summer Institute, we all had to write papers. We didn't know whether those papers would be approved or not. We didn't know whether our workshops would be approved or not. We had to create a Summer Institute out of their mandate for how they proceed. Now, so that puts us in this other mode, not think tank workshops, but of course we met at night and we did whatever we could to still work, but it was not our conference. It was us fitting into their conference. If you take the International Association of Teaching and Learning, it's their conference. If our goal is to connect with them, that is, if we're kind of embedding in so that we are working with them, we'll be much more the way we were with the learning sciences in Hong Kong. So we don't have to go north to Auckland to their conference, as you say. We could come south, 12 degrees cooler, and do a winter conference. Like, we can do this, but it is an issue about what the venue is going to be. And do we want to connect with these new groups? Do we just want to stay on our own volition? And we could do not even necessarily New Zealand. But it is an issue how we run our conferences. And I think, Chris, you were going to say something. Yeah.
Thanks. First, I really want to say thank you for all the participants who have traveled very long distances to be here. Thank you. It's a huge deal, and I know that. I think I want to offer a different view from Kate, and suggest that from a small business perspective, what we're interested in is community involvement, leadership development, that sort of thing. So the currency for us isn't so much the delivery of academic papers, but the outreach activities. So it's a little bit different. So I think, as I think about this, we sort of need, we need both. Right? We need to appeal to the academic stream, but I also think looking toward the future, I'm not sure which direction the associations are going to go in. But as we see more and more, perhaps non-mainstream academic involvement in this, I think we need to be open to alternative models. I think the notion of having a summer institute, a summit, something like this that goes beyond the traditional 4 parallel sessions all running at the same time with papers being delivered in 20-minute segments with no discussion, I think we have to move beyond that. I think there is movement in other progressive associations towards that. So I think it's smart to be on the leading edge of that. But it's just another perspective with trying to bring in other groups perhaps and trying to appeal to what might appeal to them being able to get to the I'd love to get to New Zealand, but it's so far away.
So you will come? No.
Could it be in the summer? Like in the winter here?
This issue of whether to link with some other, usually larger conference is something that it would really be good to hear from anybody who has some experience with other convictions. As I understand it, the plus side is that quite a bit of the organizational and management work is done by the larger organization. The downside includes what Marlene's already characterized. That is, you have to conform to their rules and their standards. Furthermore, you have to pay their rates, which are usually a great deal higher. So it's, I mean, we could hold our meeting at the same in the same place as some other conference, but have no official connection with them. That would possibly be a benefit to people. You know, if you're going to travel all the way to New Zealand, you might want to be able to go to 2 conferences rather than just one. But on the other hand, you're competing for hotel space with the other conference, and they're not going to help you. So I don't know. I myself am very ambivalent about this. I think I probably come down as being against it, but not strongly, because it really is a kind of weight of evidence problem.
I think you are right. We need to have our own profile, really, and our own name, our own way to make things different and innovative way of conferences in the future. In the other way, also it depends of the association, because when we were in Mallorca, for example, we have your place, and really all the conference goes around you. And we organize that with you, really, really. And you make all your interventions, and we respect all your decisions, and at the same time, we make our own conference. And for that, it goes full of people, many people, knows more about knowledge sharing. That's true, because we have a biggest platform. It's not only about our own community for now many years, and I am delighted to be here, and really I like the work and to be involved in this work, really. But this much large audience is also something important. But it depends of the kind of association you will prepare this conference. And in Hong Kong, I think the weight was Hong Kong thinkers. not more.
Yeah, you're rare.
Yeah. But I think that if we can, the best way is to do ourselves a conference, but with a larger audience, local audience, for example. You can ask for people coming from New Zealand and Australia, or I don't know what, of this region. It will be also something good. But at the same time, if the conference is large, the working groups and the interaction is not so easy. Here we have a small people group, and it's very easy. We know one to another and to change. We know our histories, and it's fantastic, really, to stay like that. But at the same time, we need to make some diffusion of our work, some dissemination, and some, I don't know, exploitation, no? Exploitation of our work. I don't know what. We need some equilibrium. And perhaps in bigger associations, what we do is we have academic sessions, parallel sessions, and discussion papers for these needs of universities to cover travel expenses and academic careers and CVs, etc., etc. One hand. Other hand, working groups. Really stable working groups, and we are working all the year together, as Sandy proposed. No? Because one thing I have, this is really a lot. Something that I miss here, is that after the Summer Institute, disappear, no? The committee disappear. We don't know what you are doing during the year, no? And I like to be more involved during the year. Not only perhaps in a small group for a small proposal, no? Or a small pieces of your work. But to know also what you are doing here in Toronto, what are the developments, etc. Perhaps a short newsletter, not a fantastic review scientific. Yes, it could be one thing. But another thing, it will be small information like that, no? Susana La Rosa, for example, she can be in contact with us at time to time, saying we are doing that, what do you mean, something like that. Because this connection between annual conferences is a big gap, I think.
Okay, we'll talk about this next. Yeah.
We'll have a new microphone because this one's got this.
Okay. This one is there.
That's why it's
It's at the end of the discussion already. Okay, so I think we have the main point of view on that. And there may be some more additional perspective before.
I just want to ask a question. That's okay. You know what? I'll use my teacher voice. I have a question. So we have a new organization that's going to be affiliated with this organization. Before we make such decisions, and thank everyone for their opinions, and I think that most of us are in agreement that it would exclude if we go to a distance. We also need to make connections, but maybe we can make connections in other ways. How will this new group be affiliated with this one? Would they come to the meetings? Would they be presenting? Would they be sharing? Because that's another whole component that's new to this. And so I think that we're creating a vision for what we would like to be. So maybe it's too soon to jump board. And anyway, yeah. So would they come, Marty?
Yeah. I think this team and the international team that is recognized in KBI is the heartbeat of what we do. So the creation of a new enterprise will not succeed unless the people who are a part of this are actually the core contributors to the new enterprise. But it is starting to take the kind of work that you do and turn it into a contribution to courses, to workshops, to powerful analytic tools that allow things to happen. People who are not exchanging their talents and we in turn supporting them, we're going to start needing to ask them to pay for these things that we are doing ourselves in exchange of. So we do these things for each other. We are very responsible to the contracts, to the subcontracts of people who get funding, people who contribute and keep this alive. That will always be the KBI team. But the part that actually uses those contributions and starts saying, now we will have a more proactive working team saying, if people in this room were teaching a course, so let's imagine with the Principals Council, we were going to do a course for administrators. And we were going to say, what do administrators need to know in order to support knowledge building? And they were to be running that course as an online course that came across all of the countries that we work with. They would all be invited to take that course. We are mounting the course. It's through you giving seminars, our designing the course. It's our energy that creates that course. But hopefully, a lot of people would take that course, and we're going to charge for that course, and those resources are going to go into the central pool of money. Now, that central pool, the people who are actually putting money in, sponsors are saying, oh, gee, we would like to do, this is an outreach project of a really substantial sort. So we would actually like to be sponsors of this. They would contribute. So we're working with the Knowledge Building International as the core working team. The Building Cultural Capacity for Innovation, or whatever we call it, is actually bringing in funds and putting those into a pool. So in a sense, there are two infrastructures that serve the two different needs. But the community that's going to hold us together, has always held us together, for decades held us together, is the international community. So, you know, Maria, when you say, isn't it something that you live in Ontario, but you didn't have a strong base in Ontario? Well, it's because we were held together by the international team that so that part will always stay the same. It will then be for us to decide what's the nature of the affiliation. You can have joint members in the two groups. You can write any affiliation agreement you want. Our sense is that we, through good trust and moving forward, have always managed to find a way. So we will explore this next year, and at this group again next year, we will be much further along. We will probably have joint ventures to say, here are the nature of our joint ventures, here's how it would go. So there are two entities trying to do different parts of the puzzle, but will be linked in any way we wish for them to be linked. It itself is a design problem, or a design challenge, and not necessarily a problem.
Yeah, what Marlene's saying might be made clearer, I think, with one example, and that's the further development of knowledge forum technology. There's been a lot of talk about it here at X. Much of it very valuable in terms of what we need for this purpose and that purpose, ideas for the interface. So a lot of intellectual input has come up about that. But KBI is just not the kind of organization that can itself develop technology. Given that it's an open source project, it's still not something that a membership organization can do. It's a different kind of organization. Deciding what gets into the core and what doesn't should be based in large part on the kinds of thinking that's going on here. So that's why they need to be close together. But as a KBI member, you're not developing knowledge for it. You're advancing ideas. Whereas as a member of this other working charitable organization, there are going to be people there who are actually doing the work. But there's a work plan and things get out and final decisions to make. So that's just by way of clarifying. Carry it over into areas of pedagogy, of assessment, and so on. You could say the same kinds of things.
You know, when I said in my financial report that we did not spend any money, besides the fee that the bank is asking every month, a lot has been happening at the technology side. With $15,000, we will not go very far in terms of developing technology. And we are just lucky that there are sponsorships right now. And there are different contributions that make where we are right now with Knowledge for All. And when it comes to other services like courses, and you know, I've been after Marlene for a while. I think we should have a book, we should have a book, we should have a very exemplary book, not only a C book, not only collaborative, but where you merge teaching and research, and where we can all benefit locally from that. You know, this is the kind of thing I'm thinking about. But it will need some contribution. I just participated in one with colleagues and friends, and I did one session, and there were 7 other sessions. Altogether, it was very nice. And we have the learning analytics to put behind that. So these are the kinds of projects we are thinking about. And we'll see how we move with that. But it will be more under BCCI than KBI. So. Okay, so I think that we have enough other points of view, and then we'll take that and see what seems to make sense for next year.
You just made me think of one thing. Once It's actually really interesting for us to think about. So one of the things that we discovered in this last year is there's more engineering talent, more exciting people in the field of learning and analytics, that they're wonderful at these technology advances. What they like about us is we have real context of use. So when they build a tool, will it work or not? Well, for us, if it doesn't work, we don't care how great the tool is. We simply wouldn't put it in before. And so, but from their perspective, if they're going to build something to see if it works, to partner with a teacher, to partner, well, that's why these hubs of innovation, which whether we call them hubs of innovation or not, the teams who are actually finding out if somebody builds a tool, or if you want one, could you put a request out into this open space, and somebody in China is going to pick it up and take that, and that gets tested within our community. So in essence, what's the goal is real communities of use. And that will always be KBI. My guess is like lots of other communities will try to teach things, but where we're getting our research results, where we're putting our resources in our research eye and making the breakthroughs, it's the major thing we bring to people that I think makes the technology people. So what we want to do is take advantage of this huge engineering force we could never pay for in 100 years. We'd have to be wealthy people pay for that. What we want to get them to do is build the things we need to get the demonstrations approved. Then, when we get those, we say, that one we add. But these other fanciful things that aren't getting any advances would not be things that we add. So the team that's making decisions will finally make decisions on the basis of how much are we advancing our goals. And that will be the core, the energy that holds these enterprises together.
Maureen? I don't see any other people wanting to talk. Yes, I see Stefano.
Just an idea about the topic, how to be connected through the year between two different disciplines. I remember a good experience of virtual meeting in class. So I wonder if it's possible to figure out an agenda with different meetings around during the year, where each local national community can organize a meeting where we present the main idea is working on connected to the knowledge-building model, for instance.
Like regional online meeting?
Not regional, but each local community can organize a meeting for all the other knowledge member of KBI.
You're doing the first one in the fall?
Probably, you can, I don't know.
Okay. Think about it. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, did somebody else? Okay. Things I'm hearing from people all point to the value of having a newsletter that's coming out on a regular basis. If Stefano and his colleagues decided that in fact they did want to have a meeting and to deal with a certain issue or launch a certain project and so on, well, that's a way to get it out and get some discussion about it and all of that. A newsletter is relatively low overhead, unlike a journal, which some of you are involved with journals and know how much work that is. I mean, we've toyed with the idea. Do you think it would be appropriate to ask if anybody wants to volunteer to launch a newsletter? Well, we could have an election.
Oh, we could give Sandy a job.
I'm speaking on Oscar and myself, and sorry, next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of Oscar and myself, and he asked me, or he gave me the job to get something to bring back to Mexico. So probably that something we could start doing. I have a lot of teachers. We need to connect in Mexico. We are like 2 people in Puebla, a few in San Luis, some in UPS, Mexico City. And probably that could be an opportunity for us to start working as one group. And we could maybe try and to make some ground rules and start working, and to support us and be with us. We could take that time. Wonderful. That's good.
Okay, so maybe 1 group letter for the year, maybe 2, maybe 3.
Yeah,
we want to pass it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Figure out and work together and make it mentions that we need as the members of the group that we are as far and as apart as we are within other countries. So we need to do something that keeps us as one.
Okay. So we discuss that.
Yep.
Later the day.
Yes, and we could do on our level.
Okay. What we could do also, because all of the newsletter are done by international group, what we could do with our French Association is that we have I think it's every other month, they have some kind of a newsletter or a journal or a paper that they produce. So we could be going down, Liz and I write a paper every other month to promote knowledge building in our area by telling stories, like short stories about what's happening on the field, and then we could share that with the community. Because we started that. Liz did that last year, explaining where it was and all that in French, but now we could go more like a deeper and more practical way and explaining where we are with our school boards, what we're doing, and then inviting other people to join us.
Okay, so you would do it within your own association and then send that to Susanna, for instance,
Yes.
for wider distribution?
Yeah,
Something like that? Does it look a bit like you want to do something for your own group?
No,
But then it will
work
extend.
as one group, so we have that problem in Mexico.
Okay,
We are
so
trying
you will do it for Mexico?
No, we want to, my point, or what I want to do, my dream is that in Mexico we are already people that is working on the community, but we are not working together as one community. So we can help these products together as a community and serve to the community internationally. That's my thing, and we have to work a lot as I think we are willing to work as one and serve. So probably we will connect at some point, and I don't know. We have to land and ground something.
And we could share the paper in English and French on our side.
You're giving me an idea. Like if you would try the coordination this year, so the Mexico team actually is going to try to produce the coordinated letter. But each one of us would either, through our Summer Institute presentations, through what you were doing, we would have one thing from each nation going to Mexico that is then trying to be transformed into a newsletter that says what is going on in each country. So I'm just looking at Ukraine. So we would know something about the new initiative that you are starting and the online courses for higher education. Each person would be responsible to getting something to you, and you would be producing something that would be our first newsletter, international newsletter. And then we'll just find out from your experience by the time we get there next year how that came together as an international newsletter.
Yeah.
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 Great, great. So I take it that we are now at the resolutions one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the next.
So Christian, would you give us the first resolution? It's
Yeah,
just
next
further
slide.
down in red.
This one?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was in red before.
Oh, sorry, I changed
The
it.
first
to
one,
black.
okay. We just look at their number. Easy. First one. First resolution. The present three-member board of directors be retained. And those three members are Marlene, Carl, and I.
Do you want to give a justification?
We need names of people who will propose.
Move that the resolution be accepted.
Somebody's asking for the vote? Unanimous. Unanimous? No. Okay, we got the first one. Okay, second one. That the organization elect one officer, a president, to serve a one-year renewable term. We had that resolution last year. Marlene got elected. And let's do number 2, and you know what number 3 will be. Of course, it will be number 1. Okay, number 2. Somebody,
Move that resolutions 2 and 3 be accepted together.
okay, you will accept that?
Yes.
Okay, seconded? You second? Okay. Who wants to vote on that? No vote. Unanimous?
Yes.
Great. Marlene, get to work. Membership and budget. Okay.
You know, these are discussable motions, and amendments are possible and all of that.
You're right.
It's nice to see it go ahead.
Yeah.
The thing I want to say about the first 3 is that I don't think we have any intention of establishing a dynasty.
No.
It just seemed that things were still in a sufficiently formative state, but had to keep it simple.
Yes.
And we hope that by next year there'll be political campaigning, all of this.
Okay. Other comment? Okay. That directors be authorized to spend available funds as they see fit to meet legal obligations, grow the membership, and advance objectives of the organization. Andy, you move. Second?
Second.
Okay. Kate was first. Up for discussion. Discussion on that? 15,000. Okay. Who wants to vote on that? Pass.
Approve.
Yeah. Okay. Got it? Okay. The fifth one, that the directors determine location and date of SI 2015 based on invitation and information from members. I take it that information from members was provided the past hour. And now proposals. We have Wing's proposal. Does that mean that there may be some other proposals of the discussion?
Well, I need to say this, I'm not pushing it myself, because I see the pros and cons of doing it in New Zealand.
we don't want to have too small summer issue, right? It's really won't work, you know. And can you indicate like when it will come if it's in the city? Yeah, well, if you're quite certain they will come, can you raise your hand? Now, when is the issue? If we are doing with the huge conference, international conference, that will be in July. Yeah, so that will be 14, 15, right? So that will be that week, the second week of July, right? So that international conference will organize the summer institute. So we won't do anything. That will have nothing to do with me, right? So they will organize it. We'll just submit our papers and then we'll just go there. If you've been to Hong Kong in 2011, that will be similar format, right? So we will be part of the conference. So nothing else will be done after that.
Or if we want to add an extra day on.
Or something like that, we could. But the main part is with the conference. Okay? So that will have to be in July. If we are going to hold the summer institute ourselves, it could be in July, or it could be in August, just like in August. But it will have to be in the South Island, in my town, or in Christchurch. It can't be in North Island, because I will have no connection with it. If you organize a conference, you've got to have some sort of infrastructural support, right? From a university or whatever. So I can't do it, you know, in the North Island. Now that is yet another complication. That's why I want you to come, obviously, right? But I am not pushing it, because if you come to South Island, you have to fly to Auckland, right? Internationally. And then there are only 2 direct flights from Auckland to Dunedin, where my university is, per day. All the rest are indirect. That means you have to fly to Wellington or Christchurch, then to Dunedin. Right? So that is a complication that will take you a whole day, something like that, right? To do it. So, but if you're coming from North America, there is a direct flight in the morning. So you can actually come you will arrive at Dunedin around 10:30 in the morning. Right? So that's possible. But if you come from Asia, Europe, you will arrive very late, 5 o'clock or so on that day. Right? So that is the complication. But if we do decide to hold it in New Zealand ourselves, it can be August, like whatever. So you really need to think about it, because I don't want our people start planning or thinking about this, and then suddenly April next year, nobody is coming, or 10 people will come, and how you do? Well, financially, it's not viable to come. I can't underwrite it. My university will not underwrite this type of thing. So it has to be self-financed. The institute has to be self-financed. So that's why I'm not pushing it. Although I invite you to come. You understand my position?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we would like to kind of move forward. Let's start with me. Yeah, there's possibly some. Maureen, look back to you. What's that? Was it for this year or what? Was it for last year? Yeah. Yeah. Next year. For next year. So you're in competition with New Zealand?
Oh no, you go to Singapore, there's no problem. Actually, you want to hold it in Singapore.
Well, okay, we could get a proposal, but if it wasn't, this,
I'm willing to help.
Meridian, who would be good? Okay. Yeah, Pascal.
I'm a really geek person, so I'm suggesting having it totally online. Is that possible? Maybe we should try it first, but
Yeah, but I think what we are saying also that we need some events throughout the year. You know, let's try to say to one another that sometime in the fall at least there is a meeting, and we'll be talking with Stefano about that. Try to do something online. Okay? And what's working well with KSN, then it's start something in a written form, and usually we get more active when the online meetings, the synchronous meeting comes. So let's try maybe to have one in the fall and one in the spring that way. Frank?
Yeah, thinking about the location of the conference, I think it's thinking about the location of the conference, I think it's important to go there where it's also a strong knowledge-building community teachers. Because I think it's very, I don't know if each of the community of Canada will go to New Zealand or Singapore. And the experiences did that actually, that there's not much participants if it's outside Canada. So what is the goal of going outside Canada? That will be probably that also other knowledge-building communities have the same opportunity as Canadian knowledge-building communities, especially for teachers. Yes, or not. So I think we have to find a goal why we should go there. Another thing is the conference also a kind of income source for the knowledge-building?
KBI, yes.
KBI. So if that, then it's an argument not to include it in another conference. Yes.
Yeah, this year, for instance, out of the registration fee, if you're a regular member, $125 goes for membership. And you can also get a membership that that's way. Okay, so
But if you are
well,
with
the
another
question is
conference,
open,
get there.
and it will continue, and the board will decide. How's that?
Well, can you ask them to indicate in here how many
Okay.
people would be?
Are you willing to raise your hand?
Yeah.
Want to go to New Zealand?
Just if it's a possibility.
Yeah, some
As a
people,
possibility?
want to have some ideas.
If it is held there, probably
It's
go.
possible.
Okay, well, okay,
9,
okay, well,
11, 12.
okay, okay.
Let's ask another question, because if it were there and we additionally were organized enough this year to have committees working through the year, at least a bit of a start the newsletter, and we take Pascal's suggestion that we mirror it with more online sessions. So we would be a smaller team in New Zealand physically located there, but we would also have online sessions and more
local
going throughout the year, which I think is what we're trying to get ourselves stable enough to do that. Then, you know, that's another issue about whether the online is totally online, but it's complementary to something that we would be doing. I don't know what the question is. I was just kind of thinking that we could complement it somehow.
Okay, additional comments? Yes?
I don't think, I apologize, I don't know your name, but some of the comments that you made about what is the purpose? And I know you're coming here from other countries and saying, well, so what is the purpose of being in Canada? So that's a very good question to ask. But I think if we're going to go out of North America, then perhaps, and it's, you know, I'd love to go to New Zealand. It's always like been a place I want to go, but what I've heard, and maybe it's just the sessions that I've attended, that in Singapore, you have a real culture of knowledge building. With the teachers, the ministry supports it. So while we were there, and it is a faraway place, if we could benefit from some observations, from having more of your people involved and participating, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandy?
Because it would be more rich.
I had a really hard time about whether to put my hand up or not, and I couldn't really make, I put my hand up because I would go, I would do my best to go, but it's a long way to go, and I think the comments about Singapore and about seeing a culture of knowledge building that's supported in multi-layers is important. I also think, I think it was one of the very first comments was about how much they appreciated the cross-fertilization between different groups, and that's always been one of the strengths of the Summer Institute. Chris alluded to a little bit in what he was saying from a business perspective, but having this cross-fertilization, if it's just one group or another, it won't be as powerful, either in terms of what actually happens or in terms of the goals of what KBI is trying to do. So I would rather than to commit to one thing right now, I'd rather ask the board to take it. It sounds like there's 2 suggestions on the table now, and to pursue those, and maybe a third one would come up as well.
Yeah, let me add that I think it's if you vote for this resolution, I think we have to commit to let people know by the end of October. From this year experience, so if there are other proposals and discussions, like the membership should know by the end of October. That gives us 2 months. We do that? Okay.
So Teresa, when we have this meeting in October, the virtual meeting or this virtual session, you said that would be a good time to connect again with the group? Well, perhaps that should be a discussion point.
Yes, we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay. Okay. So I'm calling. I think, do we need to vote on that? Yeah.
I have a question. For 2016, we will come back to Ontario, or we will turn around the world?
The idea is that it was in Canada one of the 2 times. So
Canada outside, Canada
yes,
outside.
Will be
Are we going to
like
continue
that?
That's another issue.
It will be like that for 2016?
A possibility.
Is my question.
A good possibility.
Is it a preference, or?
I don't know. I am asking because we are now making ideas, because we have several offers.
Yeah. Right. This was the wish over the past year that.
Yes, I know that.
But in 2016, it will be back in Canada, and certainly the first candidate will be Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So should we vote on that one? I think so.
Number 5?
Yeah, on number 5.
Move the acceptance of the resolution. Move the acceptance of the resolution.
Okay, you did it. So who wants that? Who votes yes on number 5? Everybody. Who's against it? Okay, we go. New activities, that the KBC website and newsletter be established with funds for developing it. Who would want to move that one?
That should be called KBI. But
That's
just my
KBI,
mistake.
yeah, that's right. Oh, right on. Yeah. Okay, Pascal?
I have a comment on that.
We haven't, I want a motion first.
Oh, you have a motion?
You're a member, so, okay,
yeah.
who's seconding that? Okay, done. Oh, Vincent. Okay, so we open for discussion. Now you're missing something.
So, it's pretty straightforward for the needs of that website to put up a newsletter and have the student journalist stories be aggregated, and the different stories from around the world be moderated by a team of editors. It's not a big task from a technological standpoint. So I think it's possible that after I finish KBSI's website, I could contribute to that as a contribution to the BCCI initiative. Okay, so this is what I'm putting on the table. At least I'd like to be on the board, but the group, the working group for that initiative, and it could also comprise the curriculum indexing effort and the various discussions around data structures that accompany knowledge forum. So we could start thinking about ways that we can index content user-generated content on the knowledge forum. So some sort of parallel between the website that we publicly show and what we use internally in terms of the data structure. That's my part.
Yeah, that's development.
Then maybe Pascal would be working
With the-
that we should get this connection.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, other interventions? So, who wants to vote on that one? It's passed, okay. If we are going to adjourn, but you stay right there. I have some housekeeping to do. Okay. So let's, who wants to adjourn the meeting? But you stay right there.
Me.
You? Okay. You're doing it. Okay. Okay, now, okay, it's 10 to 12. Likely it's still raining outside, and lunch is on your own, but we are kind of providing a service. Okay, the service will be 2 guides. Either for a short experience in the tunnel, to go and get the salad at the next building almost, but we go through the tunnel, or a bit of a longer one for a hot meal, which would be further away. It's about 7 minutes in the tunnels. And I'll be taking this group. And Estelle is supposed to be outside, and you will have a group. We reserve about 30 places at the pub. So, at the pub. And then people who want to go to the Connect, which is the next building. Of course, if it doesn't rain, okay?
Which is the one that has the salads?
The salad is the Connect, which is nearby. The pub has everything. Okay, but it's further away.
But it's still the tunnel.
It's all tunnels.
Therese, one quick question. Could we leave our heavy bags in that room while we go for lunch?
Heavy bags, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
lunch?
okay. I was thinking you were talking about your bags tomorrow. Which
No.
is another possibility. Okay, now we just took care of lunch. When we come back, we have the think tanks. The idea is to leave only one group here, because some people will want to get the chairs in a very nice order for the 3 o'clock meeting, the panel. So the idea would be that the professional development will go to room 1245. Then Hubs of Innovation will go to room 1215. You know those 2 rooms, just the next building. Room 3, which is technology, will go to the next building also, but downstairs at 0134 for technology. And group 4 will stay here, which is the pictures invention and document theory stuff like that.
Do we make a sign here so that people know where to go?
We'll put a sign here, okay? After that, after the panel, there is not much time to organize. I think we finish and we want to go. What we want to offer is 3 different departure times. One at 5, people are ready to go, and by the time, no more rain, that's been ordered. No more rain, at 5 it stops. So the idea is that we take a bus, the bus takes us to the old town or nearby, and you have a guide. One departure would be here at 5 o'clock. People are ready to go. You get your change of it's $3.25.
Yeah.
Okay? And then we have another departure time at 5:30 and one at 6. The one at 5:30 will be from Lassette. And the one at 6 also will be from Lassette. You are at Lassette. Yeah. So it gives some flexibility. If people want to bring back their computer, that's okay. Who will be ready to go at 5 because they want to spend a bit more time in the old town before going to the marina at 7? So is there enough people to have the departure time at 5? Yes, okay. So 5, just meet at the registration desk and there will be a first departure time. Okay? And I wanted to ask Marie-Claude to do that one at 5 o'clock. Marie-Claude will be your guide. Okay? 5:30. 5:30. Who would want to depart at 5:30? Not a good time, huh? Yeah? Uh-huh. 6 o'clock. Everybody else, because you have to come. Tonight, everybody. Huh? We want that. It's a big party. We have excellent food. We have really good wine. You don't want to miss that one. And it's included in your registration. Except if you bring company, then we charge what it's costing us. Okay? This is it. Tomorrow morning, if you depart tomorrow, and if you want to take your bag out of the pavilion or wherever, there will be much less drinks in the back room and much less dry food, so you can put your bags in there. So that was the housekeeping. Okay, so for lunch. Okay.
Question.
The large group will leave from here. Just stay around me. We'll go to the park. People want to have food, quick salad or something like that nearby. Just meet outside, and I'll tell you. And I'm coming back here for people going to the park. We're going to find your guide. Okay, people going to the park?
So I'm going to tell Lisa, okay, if she can wait 2 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. What do you like? Do you like it?
We don't. The idea is that we have about 6 tables for people who want to sit because of point of it. We have some big tables where people can gather around and talk. We have seats by the windows, so people can sit and people can stand up. This is the idea. Okay? No, no, no. Yeah. Yes, and they have met today, so they will know the deputy minister, the assistant deputy minister, they call the nurse is coming tonight, you know, and we are going to give them some like this, okay, okay, and the deputy minister is going to come with us. And it's not just for themselves, it's for the whole thing. So it's something, it's movement, yeah. That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay. Yeah. Oh boy, okay. Oh, I don't have time to open it. Okay, okay. I don't like this. Bye-bye. Thank you. Just
6. On va en faire un. Ça va être au laser. Ou au para. On va arrêter au para. On en regarde ça. Okay, people going to the pub? Yes. If you're outside.
Yeah. Make sure yeah. Anybody not going to the pub, going to the other places with me? So I think in about 3 minutes you can bring your computer. There's Wi-Fi over there. Maybe just so make sure we
Hold or just hold.